You Digidestined need to subscribe to Dinsy's Domain, or you'll get a Trump sword!
Apocalymon, the endgame villain in the original Digimon Adventure series, the villain that had all the abilities of all the previous villains before him, as well as his own moveset on top of that. Let's look at the reasons why he should return, why he shouldn't return, and how he can possibly return. Let's start off with why he should return. Firstly, he is one of the most powerful Digimon to have ever existed. His appearance was foreseen in the Book of Ancient Prophecies, so you know it's a big deal if you have been prophesied to be an endgame villain. He's basically the Antichrist of the Digimon Adventure series, and the fact that he created the 4 Dark Masters, who are basically represented as his 4 horsemen, the symbolism is all there, and his name is bloody Apocalymon. How much more on the nose can you get? We literally saw him for only 1.5 episodes, but the impact he made for the Digimon fandom was done in that 1.5 episodes. Myself, and I'm sure many others, have grown up with the English dub of Digimon Adventure, so we saw a very humorous Apocalymon, which for me, it worked, because he had a dark sense of humor, and I love my villains who can make me laugh with a one-liner or two, and still be a massive threat at the same time. For me, the line that kills me all the time is the line where he says, "Why does everyone get the pizza while I get the crusts?" That line is such a legendary line. See, look, you can make a one-dimensional big bad villain at the end, but when you add lines like that, it makes him more memorable and fun, especially with only 1.5 episodes to make an impact. Yes, that line was comedic, but it got to the point of making us understand Apocalymmon's creation and his point of view. He came from beyond the wall of fire. Hey guys, on a side note, at least Apocalymon wasn't a major disappointment like the Night King, who also came from beyond the wall, and it took everyone to defeat Apocalymon, unlike the Night King. Anyway, Apocalymon was born from the feelings of jealousy and hatred from the Digimon that died during Digivultion, which is the reason why he wanted to plummet the real world and the digital world into his own underworld of darkness. For a character that only appeared for 1.5 episodes, his backstory is so fascinating. He was a prophesied evil villain, he was born out of the dark feelings of the Digimon that failed to digivolve, and his mere existence is messing up the space-time continuum between the real world and the digital world. He's so powerful, he has his own dimension. How many villains in any series can actually say that? I feel like Apocalymmon's sudden appearance right at the end of the original Digimon Adventure should have been foreshadowed way more. Look how they foreshadowed Myotismon, with Demidevimon always talking to a shadowy figure. We knew something major was coming when we heard Myotismon's voice when he was talking to Demidevimon. And yes, Jenna and Centauromon did mention that something came from the Wall of Fire, but that is small for us audience to go off on. From the Myotismon arc onwards, they should have had little sprinkles of foreshadowing of Apocalymon. Like, keep mentioning the prophecies of him coming. Like in Game of Thrones, they kept on mentioning that winter is coming, meaning the Night King and the Army of the Dead. They should have done something similar to that before Venom Myotismon made his appearance. Throughout the entire episode, Izzy, Jenai, and everyone else tried to decipher a prophecy of the Hour of the Beast throughout the entire episode, and it kept on going, I think, for another episode if I'm not mistaken, until Angemon and Angewoman used their arrows of hope and light to activate the miracle that then gave us the beastly duo of War Greymon and Metal Garurumon. Digimon is no stranger to ancient prophecies. They have been doing it since the beginning, even with the painting of the angel in that fake mansion that Devimon made. Patamon was asking TK, what's an angel? And a few episodes later, we have Patamon digivolving into an angel to defeat a Digimon who is presented to be the devil. Digimon is so good at these type of foreshadowing, I just wish they had that with Apocalymon. That's what I would change personally, but other than all that backstory and lore being the reason for him to return, his moveset is easily one of the most destructive moveset in Digimon history. Not only can he use all the Dark Master's moveset, including Myotismon and Devimon's moves, he can de-digivolve his opponents using his reverse digivolve attack. His Darkness Zone attack deletes his opponents, like the way he deleted all the Digidestined's crests, and the most devastating move of all, Total Annihilation, which can wipe out dimensions. Yes, dimensions. If the Digidestined didn't have the Digivices to stop that attack, then 3 worlds would have been destroyed. The digital world, the data world, and the real world. That's how lethal that attack is. Now for me, his moveset alone is more than enough reason to bring him back, but then you factor in the backstory and you think to yourself, they really didn't do Apocalymon justice in the original series. Well, I think it's time for a change. Now let's go over the reasons why he shouldn't return. Guys, I might be in the minority, but I preferred the dubbed version of Apocalymon over the Japanese because Apocalymon is such a monster and is easily the biggest threat that the Digidestined will ever face. It's okay for him to be a little bit comedic because we know how stupidly overpowered he is. It's okay for him to have that dark sense of humor. Look at Kaido from One Piece. He's supposed to be one of the endgame pirates for Luffy to face, right? And he is an absolute monster. But guess what? He is also a mad drunk who has mood swings when he is drunk, which is absolutely hilarious. He can go from depressed to happy, from happy to angry. It adds personality to the villain, having a little quirk that makes him somewhat relatable to the audience. So if Apocalymon returns and becomes a one-dimensional villain without that dark sense of humor, I wouldn't want him to return. That humor for me, even as a kid watching, made me love Apocalymon. If he returns without it, then it will make things too predictable and boring because we already know his plan. His plan is already prophesized in the lore, but what matters is his character, and without that, then there's no point of him being there. Now let's go over how he's going to return. Honestly, the way they did it in the original with him coming from beyond the wall of fire is absolute genius. I would have him return similar like that, but maybe have him return from the Dark Network that Etemon controls. Or it seems like Etemon is the one in control, but really it's Apocalymon. Do everything with the ancient prophecies and the backstory behind Apocalymon the same. Just foreshadow it more, give it a little bit more attention, so then the payoff would be him as a villain once again. Everything is there, just foreshadow and give him a little bit more attention. That's what I would change and how I would personally reintroduce him to the story. Anyway guys, what do you think? Would you guys like to see him return, or would you like to see another villain take the spotlight instead? Let me know in the comments. As you guys know, we at Dimsy's Domain love reading and replying back to you guys because we are massive fans ourselves, so hit that notification bell for all of our latest content, and as always, care for nothing.